Hi, my name's Nick Broughton and I'm a Randomfish. Hit the subscribe button and let's be Randomfishes together, shall we? Yeah, first off, yes, I am wearing glasses. Yeah, I kind of need them at the moment for various reasons, but I'm not going to go into that. But secondly, the reason also why I'm kind of glad to be wearing glasses actually for this video is I came across a film that, quite frankly, oh boy, I try my best to focus on British shows, but every so often there's that wonderful thing that just crops up. And I'm not talking about the good movies that crop up, you know, like the Avengers films or Star Wars or anything of that kind of nature that I've reviewed on this channel. No. There's certain films out there that require a good old-fashioned, beautiful uppercut of stupidity. And one of those films is Harriet the Spy Blog Wars. Yep, I'm talking about that movie. This movie was released in 2010 under the Bureau Vista Entertainment logo. Is that a decent thing? Honestly, I'm not sure, to be 100% honest with you. This film is a sequel to Harriet the Spy made in the 90s, starring that girl who would eventually go on to become Buffy the Vampire's sister Dawn, Michelle Trachtenberg. Yes, I probably said her name wrong, I don't care. But in this film, in Blog Wars, Harriet is played by a completely different actress, Jennifer Stone, I believe her name is. And that's the disturbing thing about this. This film is weird. In the first film, I haven't actually watched the first Harriet the Spy because, well, I found Blog Wars really cheaply in the charity shop, so I kind of figured, screw it, let's watch this film and see just how bad it is. But the first Harriet the Spy film tackled this whole thing about how this little girl was writing down everything in her notebooks, and when her notebooks got made public, she nearly lost her friends because of it, she nearly lost a whole bunch of stuff because of it, because her notes and the fact that she was spying on everybody all the time and taking everybody's ideas down and blah 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 and doing all of that was hurting people around them. Now, I haven't seen the film in its entirety, but I'm willing to bet that part of the story was the whole don't spy as much anymore because it's, you know, it's bad, you know, your friends don't like it, or, you know, you can end up hurting them and all that sort of thing. That's the kind of message that they're trying to bring across. And that was fine. The problem is that in Harriet the Spy Blog Wars, she's still doing it. And she's... Let's put it this way. In the first film, you would have gotten away with it because it was a little girl doing it, and it's like those films that you see where kids are doing ridiculous things that you would never actually imagine kids doing. They have done it, you just haven't seen them do it. However, this is a teenager doing stuff that is not cute, but is point blank sometimes illegal. And when you're a kid, you can deal with these things because your parents or your friends or someone takes you aside and says to you, this is wrong. This isn't something you should be doing with your time. Yeah. In this film, not so much. In this film, it's more a case of, how do I put it? Yeah, she's spying on a bunch of different people, and she writes all their exploits down in her notebook. For example, there's a painter who's telling a bunch of different women that they're his muse. There's a couple who have a dog that they're trying to get into doggy school, I think. I'm not quite sure if that... Is that a thing? I never quite understood. I don't feel like that's a thing over here. Like, we have that here, but it's more like a Channel 4 production or something like that. It's not an actual school that you can then go and, you know, get in... I don't know, maybe I'm just being ignorant, but to me, it's a case of, yeah, silly things do silly things. But the reason why the film is called Blog Wars is that she is looking to become the class blogger. and her two friends, one of them is called Sport, the other one is another generic friend, I'm not quite sure, and her adversary, her main nemesis, as she calls her, I don't know her name either, because this film is so weird and so bland and so very meh, it's gone through my brain. The names have gone through my brain, it's that bad. The problem is that unfortunately in this film, right, the casting changed from the original film. That I have no problem with, because frankly I severely doubt it was handled with all the same gravitas that the first film was, because it wouldn't have had the same traction. Because the first film, I think, was released in the 90s, or possibly the very early 2000s, and this was released in 2010, in a time period where, you know, we had a whole bunch of stuff like that, and this was sort of this... I feel like this was an almost straight-to-DVD type film, like not even released in theaters type film, that's how bad it was. The issue that I have with this is that these characters are not even characters. And to move on with the plot slightly, is that Harriet's dad is a movie producer. Wow. Right? I feel like this is the only sort of, you know, this is the thing that you only ever see in the great American... Oh, Christ. Okay. Okay, let me just explain something to y'all. You don't need to have that inserted into a film. What? I don't know if this was a part of the original film or not, but... Dude! Have some pride in your written work, please! Honestly, good lord. Not that I'm saying that movie producers don't have kids, but at the same time, it all seems a bit convenient for the plot. You know what I mean? But the idea is that the plot is that he's helping to produce a sequel to a musical spy teen film. And its lead actor, a guy called Skander Hill, I'm going to let that sink in and just say that again. Skander Hill is supposedly very temperamental and blah blah blah, but all the girls at school love him. Harriet wants to go out on a limb and essentially expose this guy as a fraud, or as she calls him, a fake. Harriet in this film is obsessed with revealing the truth about everybody, and is obsessed with just revealing the truth, I guess. Like, not so much turning people's worlds upside down, but it's that focus. It's kind of like this thing that drives journalists in the newspaper industry. You know, you're constantly trying to find the truth of the story. You're constantly trying to find the right answers by asking the right questions. You're trying to, you know, point the finger at the guilty party responsible for whatever the bad thing is that's befallen these people or whatever. The problem is, A, that Harriet is not a reporter for a newspaper, and B, she's one of the worst characters in this film. Like, I'm not saying that you should be a vapid, vain girl when you're in high school, or a girl or boy when you're in high school, constantly obsessed with celebrities or how you look, or, you know, or trying to be them, or trying to be overly popular with everybody. I'm not saying that should be your focus. But Harriet is... The character of Harriet M. Welsh in this one feels like the worst leftovers of Fraser Crane. All the pretentiousness, none of the sincerity. She's obsessed with this guy that's in her house called Chef, who her mum hired to, you know, be their personal chef and to be her trainer to help get her into a better shape. Now, I will admit, I am the last person to be talking about this sort of thing, because I was excessively fussy about food when I was a kid, and when I was a teenager even. Nowadays, I'm a bit more relaxed about the thing, but when I was younger, not so much of a chance. But Harriet has this thing where they put something in front of her, and she engages in a battle of wits with this guy to force him to give her a plain tomato sandwich as opposed to what he gives her. which is his own personal version of a tomato sandwich, which I will admit, it's not something that I would have thought was a tomato sandwich either, but at the same time, I don't know, I guess there's a part of me that would have at least taken a bite of it and then sort of said no. Instead, she sort of just sits there and just says no straight to him and, like, makes him do this stuff. And I get that the idea is that she's an incredibly strong-willed girl, and I do get that. The problem is that he was hired by her mum. He doesn't work for the little girl. Why in God's name is he taking orders from her? It doesn't make sense. It makes little to no sense at all within the confines of the story. Her nanny character, called Golly, yeah, she's called Golly in this. What the fuck? She was in the last film as well, but I mean, again, last film, little girl. This film, teenager. And I'll be honest, right, they've not described at any point when in school she is. She could be a freshman, she could be a sophomore. I don't know the rest of the terms because I've only ever heard freshman and sophomore year and possibly senior throughout my time of watching American stuff on TV. But that's neither here nor there. At this point in the game, do you not think it would have been slightly better to have established where she was in the school sort of motor? Because at least that way you'd have had some idea of what her age range was. And there's this whole thing about how Golly is up to something weird and Harriet doesn't know what, so she ends up spying on Golly instead, as well as other things, including the Scander Hill character, who I will get back to, don't worry. But she spies on this woman and has this complete go at her about it. Because she seems to be under this bizarre impression that because Golly has been there for her for so long when she was a child, that she's gonna stay with her for many, many years afterwards. Like, she freely admits that she still needs this woman in her life. And I'm going, right, if you are able to put the word teen, or the letters that make up teen, at the end of your age, you should not need a nanny. You should need to consult your parents, yes. You should need to be able to figure things out on your own, yes. You do not need a flippin' nanny to stick around for you and to help guide off the bullies for you, which she does. Only once I think I remember seeing it happen in the film, but still. I mean, sweet lord. This film is garbage. It is awful. It is... She spouts off all these quotes from various books and various authors and playwrights, which I'm fine with if she did that in the last film. Fine. Whatever. But at the same time, she doesn't use them to attempt to communicate on some level with the other kids. She acts as if she's above them all the time. And when I say she's like the worst parts of Frasier Crane, I mean it. It's like they took all the pretentiousness from Frasier and just dumped it into this one character. Barely gave her any niceness about it, because she's not. She acts as if she's always right about everything. The only time that she has any kind of emotional moment is when she discovers that Golly might be leaving, and and here's one for you. She got so obsessed with this Scander Hill character, trying to expose him, trying to prove that they're friends so that she can remain with the popular crowd. Yes, it's that kind of generic side of the story. But she goes to such lengths that she nearly drives the kid completely insane and nearly costs her father his job, and like nearly gets him sued by this guy's agent. What? Why? Okay, do you know what? This goes out to anyone. Anyone at all. If you're attempting to reveal someone as something that you think they're trying to hide from the rest of the world. If you are, then good luck to you. Namaste. But I will say this. What the flying hell does driving them to the point of insanity prove? What does going so far that you nearly cost someone who you might know on the inside their job in order to do it? If you're proving that this person is for example, a bad person, like say a drug dealer or a crime boss, I would get that. Hell, if that was part of Harriet's setup, I would have loved to have seen that. A teenage girl doing that sort of thing. I would love that. I would think that would be absolutely hilarious. She would, she would reveal it through her blog, and she would start to uncover this much darker secret, and then she'd have to discover, talk about the whole, whether or not doing the class blog is actually something that she still wants to do, but what she actually wants to do is reveal the truth about this horrible person. That would be a genius plot to have. But no, you don't have that, do you? What you have is worse. It's just... Do you know what? Do you know what I'm going to say about this film now? I'm just closing up here, because if I keep on going, I'm going to burst a blood vessel. This movie is not good. If you want to distract your child with a movie with lots of talking and a bit of slapstick and some silly looking characters, stick it on, because it will entertain them for about an hour and a half maybe. But if you're looking for a sequel to that particular film of Harriet the Spy, a film that I have not seen, but I'm kind of sure was not as god-awful as this film possibly is, I would say stay the hell away from it. Just please, for your own personal sanity. And right now, I'm going to ensure my sanity by going away, curling up in a ball, and crying for a bit. And all I'm going to say to that is, Randomfish, out.